That intro says it's Sunday, and we are pumped up and ready to go for some thoroughbred racing here in South Florida. Good to have you with us, everybody. Jason Blewett alongside Acacia Courtney, and another Sunday right here at GPW as we close out the weekend with a 10-race card.
We're looking forward to it. Our first post is 1:15 p.m. today, and as you said, 10 races. We did have some rain last night, so races 3 and 10 are still on the turf, but the other turf races has been taken off. So keep in mind a few changes throughout the card. Not too many scratches, though, all things considered, which is good, and we'll keep you posted, as will Pete Aiello, about the changes.
Yeah, we'll have Pete calling the races, a few stories up in the air, and of course he'll be bringing you that opening set of Sunday scratches and changes immediately following this Sunday edition from our Gulfstream studios of GPW today. A little rundown as to what's on tap, and if you've watched this show before, you're probably aware that we have a few pick fives, a couple of pick fives, and a Rainbow Six ticket coming your way momentarily. Don't forget, though, a little over 2 Gs carried over into Sunday's opener. And off the turf race at 5/8 on the main with the carryover in the super high five. And of course, those dirt horses, or at least turf horses trying the dirt, will play part in that first pick five too.
And we have the Rainbow Six carryover as well. More than $50,000 in there. That starts in the 5th race this afternoon, just a 20-cent wager. And then we cap things off in race number 6 with the 50-cent late pick five. So keep in mind, we have all those plus more throughout the afternoon.
And a live shot of Old Glory and the Stronach Group flag underneath, both gently blowing in this South Florida breeze. A nice day in Miami Gardens as, again, we settle in for the first of 10, and we'll get right into it on the program. The first pick five getting underway with this off-the-turf 5-furlong race. 3 and up, $12,500 claimers. I know we're in the same camp as far as our top pick, and that is the number 7, Diamond Mint. Did you use anybody else here?
I did. We'll show you my pick 5 ticket. I actually used 4 horses because I wanted some coverage in this off-the-turf opener. Very early in the wagering, the number 4, Ours Again, is the favorite. I would imagine that's because you see Mike Maker shipping in a little bit early. This horse has been in good form in other racetracks. Just don't know if he can handle an off-the-turf race. That'll be the question. Using a couple there. 2 deep in the 2nd race. I'll use the 2 Jonathan Thomas runners in the 3rd. He has a very strong presence in there. That race does stay on the turf. 2 in the 4th race, and then I tried to go in the 5th race with the horses I thought should handle the conditions best, and I thought that would be Summer Scamp and Diamond Square. $32 for me to start things off, but some really nice maiden races in that sequence. Should be pretty fun.
Yeah, like races 3 and 4 quite a bit. One on turf, one on the main track. In fact, our opening grass race kicks off in race number 3, and well said by you, where Jonathan Thomas runs a couple in the 3rd, and that includes Elasticity and Crave, and then his old mentor and former boss, Todd Pletcher's in action with an Uncle Mo and Stay Thirsty firster in race number 4. And that's the one thing that struck me, at least early on today's program, Acacia, as we inch closer to that opening day card of December 2nd over at Gulfstream Park for the championship meet. We're seeing Mike Maker ship down horses. Eddie Plesa Jr., a mainstay in South Florida, is back in the first with the 3R Sarge, but it's probably going to take a big effort out of somebody, assuming Diamond Mint runs as well as he did last time out, to defeat him in the first off the claim for Steve Caceres.
I had questions about this horse trying the turf first off the claim, but I do think he's been in very good form on the dirt, and that certainly bodes well for him with the surface switch in the first race. Maybe they're disappointed. Maybe they really did want to get him on the grass today, but he's shown speed in his past. He actually broke his maiden wiring the field back in March, and yet lately he's kind of been that kind of handy, sitting right there in the nice pocket. So I think he has a versatile running style. Should be very strong. I bumped him up when this race was taken off the turf.
Maybe he's the best dirt horse. Maybe he's got that going for him. We'll see. He needs an A-level effort, though. If he's the best dirt horse in the race, it's by a narrow margin. And let's just wrap up the action and the icing on the cake, if you will, with the 7 Diamond Mint. Big stat here for trainer Steve Caceres, who's got A, does an excellent job, and B, he's got solid numbers off the claim to begin with. But when you start to really narrow it down and you look with that 50 bump up in claiming price, here's a barn that's actually gone 6 for 20 for 30%. When you consider these are horses stepping up in class with the claiming price first off the claim. It's a very noteworthy statistic. Who else are you looking at in the first? And a race that I guess outside of Diamond Mint, you don't have a very strong opinion on, nor do I.
No, I spread, if you remember, and this is actually my fault. I think I sent in the first cut with the scratches. It should be 7-1-8-4 for me in the first race. I added on the number 8, Cantaclaro, with this one coming off the turf as well, just because this horse was so good last time, getting a 77 Beyer speed figure. Will he be able to repeat that performance in the sloppy track? Was that kind of a fluke? But I thought he was definitely worth another look because of that last race.
All right, with the first down, we can move on to the second half of this Sunday early double. Already October 15th, smack dab in the month of October, in the middle that is, as we have this group of 2-year-old filly, $16,000 maiden claimers on the dirt going 3/4. And a case of you and I liking a cold 7-4 early double. And I had a feeling, I don't know who Ron picked in here, but I had a feeling the 4 Chantilly Lily was going to be a horse that you liked as well. For the obvious reasons, it just seems she is slowly putting things together, and she also has a drop in class.
She does, and I spoke to trainer Joe Orsino the last time that she ran. They do call her Chantilly Lily, rhyming there. So she has a nice breeding, though. She's a 2-year-old filly by Poseidon's Warrior. She's half to a multiple stakes winner, Dear Lily. And he had said last time that they had missed a little bit of time shipping up north with the hurricane. Maybe just now she's got that race under her belt. She should be able to improve now with the class drop. I really did think that she had a shot last time. She just didn't show up as much as I would have liked. But this looks like the right field.
It does look like the right field. I mean, what you're dealing with in race number 2, of the 5 with experience, and you've got a firster by Trap Shot outside debuting for trainer Robert Smith, and I guess that horse is eligible to show something in a field that no one's really, my point is, the ones that have already raced, so to speak, really haven't distinguished themselves, and off the likelihood of a third time out improvement, Chantilly Lily should be tough to beat. And by the way, these Poseidon's Warriors have been good.
Been very impressive.
He's got 19 foals to have raced. 5 of them have already won, and he's got a grade 1 winner, that horse that won the Champagne a little over a week ago up at Belmont Park for trainer Jason Service. Rethink Me, actually a cold. Folks, easy game when you know how. 4-1-3-6. To the hoop in race 2.
That's right. Well, the number 1, Rethink Me, the dam actually did win going long on a wet track. That was her only win, so maybe this filly will like the track conditions today. The track is labeled fast, but again, we did have a little bit of rain. But she's produced 4 out of 5 winning foals already. Second time out for Rohan Crichton and a drop in
And we did have a New York bred score yesterday right here at GPW by Utopia. I've seen quite a few of those in my time at the races, and it's nice having them with us here in South Florida. As we move on and we turn the page, we come up on our opening turf race, and it's one of the best races on the card. Sunday's third, a $42,000 maiden special weight. These are 3 and up fillies and mares, and it really is a case of Jonathan Thomas first and foremost. Now, that's not to say that the inside runner Gemstone Linda doesn't have a chance, or the number 3 Take a Stroll, who ran very well last time out behind Hollywood Royal, who was 3-5. But you would imagine Crave might be able to show her best off a layoff and trainer change, and ultimately you and I wanted the number 5, Elasticity.
Well, I think there's some questions with Crave, and I suppose she's maybe the starting point. I wanted to show one of her recent races. She goes from the barn of Todd Pletcher to Jonathan Thomas. Of course, as you mentioned, Pletcher, his mentor. Last time out, got in a ton of trouble. This is back on May 21st, when she was right there with Fashionably Wild, who's the number 5, and see the 2 of them ahead of the rest of the field. Then Fashionably Wild starts to pull away, and Crave, she runs after that other horse, but she's just not able to make any sort of dent in the margin there. She comes back, a lot of early trouble, very slight steady. The short comment says that she steadied on the first turn, really just, I think, in tight between horses. Can she improve now with blinkers on and off the bench?
I'm going to say maybe she'll relish the layoff and moreover the cutback, the 5/8 on the turf. But given who she was running for Todd Pletcher, I think there's a very good chance that the 5 Elasticity, looking at what they paid for her and the fact that these Patio Prados have been running to pay up 145 G's for this horse as a 2-year-old in training. I have a feeling with Edgar Zayas running that Elasticity can probably run a little bit. And if that's the case and Crave is the same old Crave, and I say that with respect because she can obviously win here. Her stablemate is going to beat her.
I would think so, too. Now, as far as the bottom side, a little light on the turf pedigree, but the dam was grade 1 place. She never did try the turf, but she has produced 1 turf winner already.
All right, fair enough. And then you've got the number 3, Take a Stroll. It's going to take some money for Kathy Ritvo and Luca Panici, who's back here in South Florida. Tried the big waters over the big track yesterday at Belmont Park. Things didn't work out in the futurity. It's good to have Luca back with us in Florida. And Jose Valdivia Jr. as well, who's had calls here at GPW over the last few cards. He's been riding in Kentucky and in some other places. It's nice having Jose with us as well, as he is coming off his 3rd Arlington Park riding title. Let's move on to race number 4. We bring on the 2-year-olds, but we stay in the maiden special weight ranks as we head back to the main track for this 6.5 furlong field of 6. And moving off trainer Jonathan Thomas, we have his old boss here in Todd Pletcher, who, as far as the number of runners that are showing up for the Pletcher barn, those seem to be increasing as well. Uncle Larry and Caloric, they look pretty solid.
They do.
Right?
You've got Uncle Mo and Stay Thirsty represented in here, as you said. I actually split the 2 of them with the number 4, Bostaletto, who I'm really intrigued by, a Curlin 2-year-old. For Chad Stewart, I love that he's going to debut going the 6.5 furlongs being by Curlin. And the dam was very good. She was a multiple stakes winner in grade 3 place. She was an 8-time dirt winner and has already produced a stakes winner.
Now let's give you a little background information on the Bob LaPenta-owned Caloric, who is a great colt by Stay Thirsty. I had liked the 2-year-old sale with this horse, the Breeze that is, back at OBS June quite a bit. So did a lot of people. He sold for just under $200,000. He went that 8th and 10-1. Originally did not bring just under $40,000 as a reserve not attained during his yearling season, but I would have to say off that number, compared to what he sold for and how he looked in that workout, you might be dealing with a horse who can run a bit. It just seemed like he had a low, powerful stride and a real nice physical look and center of gravity, and it's just kind of neat just seeing Pletcher with the 2 firsters, as you said, having the Uncle Mo on the rail, followed by Stay Thirsty.
Yes, it is pretty cool to see that. I did prefer the Uncle Mo, just based on pedigree and the Caloric, the Stay Thirsty colt, the only sibling was 0 for 2 so far. The dam, as you said, did win on multiple surfaces. But Uncle Larry has some precocity in his pedigree. His only sibling did win at 2, and the dam did win on the grass and on the dirt as well. So kind of a similarities, but also slight differences. So I'll be really intrigued as we see these 2 horses getting down to the starting gate.
And they paid up for Uncle Larry, as that horse was a weanling, sold for $130, and that was when Uncle Mo was doing well, but prior to Nyquist winning the Florida Derby, the Kentucky Derby, and the season that Uncle Mo had during his 2nd crop back in 2016. And with the first 4 down and 2 nice maiden races in the books, we'll focus in on chasing that Sunday rainbow with Acacia and myself. Stay tuned for more Gulfstream Park West today.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
The Pegasus World Cup Invitational is January 27th at Gulfstream Park, and that weekend we have something new, the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. I'm lucky to be joined enough by 2 guys who will be playing in this tournament, including
Ray Arsenault, defending NEC champion.
And
Hi, Acacia. I'm Ross Gallo. I'm a 13-time NHC qualifier and also a member of the NTRA Players Committee.
we're so excited for it. Join us here at Gulfstream Park. $500,000 expected pool, no entry fee if played on site. This is for the players.
And welcome back to this live Sunday edition of Gulfstream West Today from our Gulfstream studios. Acacia and Jason, delighted to have your company as we settle in and get started and ready for a 10-race card that includes that Rainbow Six carryover that continues to just organically grow and evolve. It's over 50 G's.
Over 50,000 today, and no singles for me, but I kept things affordable with my ticket, $38.40. Going to be using 2 horses to start things off, the same 2 in the pick 5, then 1 1 and the 6. And then spreading in the 6th race, that's a non-winners of 2 that I think there's just a lot of different ways to go. You and I were talking about this race the other day. This is a tough one, so I'll spread in there. Going to be using 2 in race number 7. I think even off the turf, the number 1 Got Some Mojo just might be the strongest horse. Conscious Decision moves up with the surface change, I think, 2 deep. In the 8th race, Rochette has probably been doing the rain dance and very happy about this. 2 in the 9th and 3 in the nightcap. That one stays on the turf, a really fun 2-year-old filly race.
Yeah, it seems like in the last race today, maybe half a dozen trainers all had the same idea. Let me drop into a Florida-bred 2-year-old filly 50K maiden claimer on the turf and maybe get a nice easy win.
Yeah, no.
And it is just drop down central, some real nice pedigrees, and a whole bunch of first crop stallions, including 3 by Soldat and a couple by Treasure Beach. That is a wide open, fun race to cap the week here at GPW. But again, the Rainbow Six, it can't begin, and we can't get through it without the first leg, the stepping stone. And with this race moved to 1 1/16 over the fast main track for this 2 lifetime $8,000 claimer, it is very hard. They're 2 very different looking horses on paper, but I think very hard looking beyond the 1 Summer Scamp who's inside for pretty shrewd, crafty connections, and the number 6 Diamond Square.
Taking a big drop for Summer Scamp. Now, the Dam's 2 wins were on the dirt, so there is dirt pedigree there for this Into Mischief gelding. He has actually placed in his 2 dirt races, though, finishing 3rd on a wet track 2 starts back in Allowance Company at Delaware. I think he should be able to handle this fine. He's run at Gulfstream Park West before. You certainly have to use him on the drop, I think, turf or dirt.
Yep.
I did still land on the number 6 Diamond Square, and we were talking about this in the commercial. Curious what Smart Return will do in his very first ever dirt start. But I think Diamond Square could be the controlling speed, especially with the scratch of the 2 exclusive reward. That's going to be his best weapon.
And all things considered, although he has been a kind of tried and true turf horse and a pretty average one at that, his 1 dirt race showing back right around Memorial Day weekend was a pretty solid effort.
Very tough field, too.
Yeah, over at Gulfstream Park in late May, a very solid field, and it was going a mile, and it wasn't like he was outrun every step of the way. He was up in the race on the lead before weakening. If he runs back to that, I'll tell you, Summer Scamp coming in from the Mid-Atlantic better have his running shoes on in today's 5th race. But again, just the 2 favorites look so much better than the other horses, and I think there's only 3 others, so very much a 2-horse affair. The 6th race, however, is very much wide open, and this race was giving me fits a couple days back, and I said, hey, Acacia, I called over to the next dog, I said, what about Sunday 6? What are you doing there? And sure enough, you've got Chuck Simon's drop down Rodeo Romance on top, and I have got one of your old pets, one of your old buddies, and Hangry. And I'll use, actually, much like your Rainbow, I'm going to use 4 in here to start things out. I said in this opening leg, I'm not hungry, I'm hangry. And then as far as my anchor, Got Some Mojo, loved him on the turf. He should be just as tough on the dirt. I think he's going to just be an overwhelming favorite, odds-on territory, as he's run just so well in his 2 races off the claim for Peter Walder. So he, I think, is a very fitting and logical single and foundation to this Sunday late pick 5. Class edge and 2 distinct running styles with Sweet Distinction, who I think is better than her last dirt race shows, and Rochette, who likes to roll and may just find herself on an uncontested lead. They have a class edge in race number 8. Moving to the 2 MTOs outside in race 9, 1 for Walder, 1 for Barboza Jr.
Use those 2.
Yeah, it's just much like the opening leg. It really looks like, and they're going to be bet accordingly, that they'll bet those 2 and everybody else will be pretty much big prices. And man, I'd be shocked if the 10 or 11 did not win the 9th race. And to wrap it up, I feel like this Florida-bred 50K maiden claimer on the turf for the 2-year-old fillies came up a lot tougher, or tougher. Maybe a lot's a little over the top, but on par with some Florida-bred maiden special weights we've run for the juveniles, especially for the gals. Very good cash out. Moving, though, to this 6th race, there might be a lot of pace in here, and that's why I picked Hangry. And I say that there could be a decent amount of pace with your drop-down Rodeo Romance. Dreamy Martini's not slow. I would imagine the one Dawn Patrol from the rail will be hustled to get good position. Although Hangry is just a very much one-pace plotter, he can stay the trip, and I think he's probably going to be able to target in his crosshairs a bunch of horses who are just tired. Whether they can go the mile or not remains to be seen, but they're going to be leg weary when he gets to kind of just plod and chug along.
Well, that's what I thought. I certainly thought Dawn Patrol was going to send from the rail, but just seems to do the same thing every time and show speed and then kind of stop. Dreamy Martini, I don't know if he can get the distance or if he can sustain that speed, though I did use him because it's just such a big class drop that he is taking today. As far as Rodeo Romance, he's taking a significant drop in class, and that's what really made me use this horse. He won off of a layoff in special weight company at a big price. I just remember being so impressed with the way that he looked that day. The barn was very high on him. They stepped him up in competition in the next couple of starts, and he just hasn't shown up. Was in for the $20,000 tag last time, and I'm just thinking maybe he is a little bit better than his last couple of races do show, and if he can show speed but hopefully not get hooked up in a pace duel, he could just be in the right spot.
He's the lone New Jersey bred going out for good connections and a very good trainer in Chuck Simon. Now, as far as the good training front goes, we've got a trainer change to Armando de la Cerda with the number 3 King Power, who does have a dirt race back when he was with Jonathan Thomas, and they were looking to win and probably lose this horse at a maiden 12-5 in early June. That dirt race would make this horse very tough come crunch time, and here's a stat to bolster the chances, perhaps, of the number 3 King Power. And I think a stat as we gaze out upon GPW, which just looks in terrific shape on this Sunday card. We've got a trainer who's just straight up solid in this category. First off, a trainer change in claiming races.
Yeah, he certainly is. And this horse, it looked like he needed a drop in class, and it's tough to see a $240,000 purchase running for $62.50, but they had to drop him to 12.5 to get him to win, and he did that by open lengths, and he just might have a little bit of the edge as far as some of his backstory.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case. He's a must-use. You're playing pick whatevers. Definitely include the number 3 King Power. We move on to race number 7 today in the 7th race, an off-the-turf event at a mile and a 16th over the fast main track that has played very fair and even. I was really in my head licking my chops thinking that one way or another there would be biases galore here at Gulfstream Park West. Has not been the case. The track's been very fair, like I said, and I think unbiased, and that might be good news for everybody today, of course, including the one Got Some Mojo, who's just, and he's coming out of a troubled trip we're about to show you, but he's been so good in his 2 races off the claim for Mr. Walder.
He really has been. I did prefer him on the turf, but I still think on the dirt he might be strongest in here. Here he is, the number 4. Now, this race, the number 2 on the lead, Gautier, very early on, right there as we freeze, you can see the number 4, he's back here. He had to check very sharply around the turn right there. The number 2 is Gautier, who's been in incredible form. He was really rank early on and very hard to handle as we let it roll now. So poor Got Some Mojo is the number 4, stuck along the rail, waiting and waiting. He had to check, cut off his momentum, and now you're thinking he's not going to get there in time. And then you'll see him keep following the number 4. He slides up the rail in such a big finish. Unfortunately, wasn't able to catch the top 2 horses, but I thought it was a huge performance from him.
Yeah, it was a huge run, and the good news, this is not, and we saw it happen a couple of different times yesterday. Little Matt comes to mind, and Shootist, horses that were well bet, that were turf horses trying the dirt. I don't think you have to worry about that, and those horses underperformed at short prices. I don't think you need to worry about that with Got Some Mojo, whereas this horse has run well at a few different tracks on the dirt in the past, and I think that just adds to the appeal today. Now, you actually went to the 3 Conscious Decision, who's definitely got a chance here as he squares off against the number 4, 2 Jacks Wild.
I think so, too, and looking at some of the past form for this horse, he's actually been in very good form lately. His last race was very strong. He's got more of a closing, kind of grinding running style. He did win on a sealed, sloppy track, going 9 furlongs, so we know getting the distance is going to be absolutely no problem for him, and he actually actually has some prior dirt form towards the start of his career as well. So I did land on him, but again, I still think Got Some Mojo might be a slightly better horse. We'll see if he can get the trip and take the surface.
All right, we'll see. Let's move on to race number 8. As far as better horses go, these 3-and-up filly and mare $16,000 optional claimers, the ones not named Rachette and Sweet Distinction, probably have their, indeed, I think they have their work very much cut out for them. And it's a nice kind of 2-for-1. If you want to double up on whatever play you're making and use them both, you get the quality potential lone speed in Rachette, who has no trouble staying 7/8, but you also get the one Sweet Distinction, who seemed to be heading in the right direction prior to drawing that crummy inside post in back-to-back dirt races.
I agree with you that race 2 starts back on the dirt was worse on paper and is not indicative of the talent that this filly does have. They tried her on the turf in the Miss Gracie last time, and she was forwardly placed. I think she's just running against stronger horses and out of her element. I like that she's back on the dirt now. She has Emisel Jaramillo up, who's won a lot of races for Stanley Gold over the past few months. And if you go back to her prior dirt form, she has some very strong performances, and I think that's what she's going to run back to.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is a horse quite simply dirtied up and is going to give the number 3 Rachette a run for her money. But Rachette makes a lot of sense and is likely to go favored. She's coming out of a race that came up relatively fast with the 78 Fig and no match for the Breeders' Cup filly mare sprint bound Kerwin's approval in that barely even handicap at GP on October 1st. But before that, I think Rachette was able to maybe put some anxious moments behind her, mainly in that inconsistency department when she just drilled a field over 8 miles east in late August.
And she loves a wet track, so being able to run on that surface 2 starts back was huge for her. That's where her 2 wins have come. Again, the track is labeled fast this afternoon here at Gulfstream Park West, but I thought her 2 GPW races at the start of her career, I remember her last year when she was just starting for Kathleen O'Connell, were very, very good, and I hope she runs back to that.
All right, and of course, based over at Gulfstream Park West, right here at GPW with Kathleen O'Connell. We're joining you from Miami Gardens, and Kathleen runs that tip-top operation here over this 220-acre racing paradise, right?
That's right.
All right, let's move on to race number 9. Our final dirt event on the card, because this one was taken off the turf. We'll cut back to 7/8 on the main with this $8,000 3-and-up filly and mare claimer, and with the surface switch, you start after scratches. And again, Pete Aiello will be joining us in a couple of minutes. It's like a little smarty pants who's got Luca Panici, by the way. No. Ariel's Flyer, no. Hazel W, no. Rara, no. Oh, okay. Flash Jack's got speed, and she's a dirt horse, and she's first off the claim for Walder. Okay. Oh, Grand Chama's Barboza on the outside. She's an MTO too. Okay.
This sounds like a very similar conversation to the one Ron and I had in the office before.
Did you? Yeah.
It was exactly that. It was like, well, who'd you use in this race? And so, well, you kind of have to use the outside too. I agree. I think Flash Jack is going to be the speed. She's got to get out of second gear in what she's been running, but she's been able to carry her form through being claimed, through running against tougher. I just think Grand Chama ran very well last time on the sloppy track right here at Gulfstream Park West. Huge victory, 2 starts back across town at Gulfstream, and I think that she'll be very strong here.
And as we go down the stretch here on GPW today, Peter Walder will be a very busy man, or at least one of his stable hands will be late in this Sunday card. Not only does he have Got Some Mojo in the 7th, and that filly in the Flash Jack, thank you very much, in the 9th race. It could be all about Sold That House in race number 10. A pretty big drop down in this 2-year-old Florida bred $50,000 maiden claiming race for fillies, as Sold That House 2 back in a race we're about to bring you from Labor Day weekend over at Gulfstream Park was a big effort in a blanket finish, and they're just putting her in for the $50K.
They are. Now, what I do think you have to take into account here, she's the number 6 that afternoon, is that the horse that finished second in here, So Fresh, came back yesterday as a very short price favorite and did not show up. As we come around to the turn, we'll just freeze right there, and I'll highlight, here's the number 6 Sold That House that we're keeping an eye on. You have these 2 horses inside, one of them So Fresh, that was setting the pace, and then on the outside here, you have the winner of that race in Gift to Glory, so closing outside as we let it roll down to the wire though. But I thought this was a huge improved performance from Sold At House. Tried stakes competition in the Argier Peggy last time, which was taken off of the turf. I think she's back on her preferred surface now, and she should be tough in here if she improves more than So Fresh did.
It does worry me, though, a blanket finish with necks up and down and heads up and down between the trifecta fillies, and watching off that tight finish So Fresh come back in her first turf start since then and just not lift a hoof yesterday here at Gulfstream Park West. Maybe she didn't like the turf course. There's a million and one reasons perhaps why she didn't run, but maybe that race just isn't as strong as I first thought it was.
Looks like it.
And that has led me in the direction of one of the two Treasure Beach 2-year-olds in the mix in race number 10, and the very logical Galileo's Affair, who you would think with the off-the-turf race first time out, this filly has been turf meant all along for Armando.
She was turf meant in her debut, and she ran very well in that first race. They tried putting her into the Florida Sire Stakes. It's a big opportunity for Florida-bred colts and fillies throughout.
400 Gs.
It's a
You
lot
gotta
of
take a
money. You
shot.
have to take a shot if you have a horse that you think is good enough. She finished 4th in that race, actually, ran very well. So I think that she has some sneaky in here, looking like, again, she was turf meant. I looked back at my notes for her. She was just dappled on her toes in both of her races. Just a really beautifully put together filly. I totally agree with you.
And this is all about the Florida-based first crop stallions in the last. 2 for Treasure Beach, 3 for Sold At, 1 for Rattlesnake Bridge, Brethren, and Take Charge Indy. A lot going on in a race that came up, I think, on par with some of our maiden special weights. Should be a fun day here at Gulfstream West. In fact, speaking of fun, he's all about it. Speed Aiello, he's coming up next as we send it up for Sunday's Scratches and Changes.